Why does the world, organizations, and people just overvalue tenure instead of results, adaptability, capability? And that's where I stumbled upon the quote by Alvin Toffler: "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." There's not enough trust right now in AI. Right now, I feel like we're still in this period where we're babysitting AI. We're not ready to really let go of the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
But the company who does let go of the reins and has achieved that like 99.9% accuracy, the fastest, is going to be the one that wins.
Zach Huffman, head of marketing operations at Summit Media Solutions. Welcome to Coffee with Experts. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So you were telling me beforehand, your days of actually sitting and building websites are in the past for now, unless you need to go in and maybe fix some bugs or review some things. Tell me about your position now and what do you spend most of your time doing these days?
Yeah, so head of marketing operations at a marketing agency is pretty much just building operational frameworks and how we deliver our services for our clients. So the strategies that our team's implementing on a day-to-day basis, and then being their direct report for any questions that they may have. Operational breakdowns, getting from A to Z and executing good products and services, so websites, SEO, listings, reviews, AI chats, things like that. Kind of building those operational frameworks is where I spend most of my time today.
Yeah. And you built your leadership philosophy around learning, unlearning, and relearning. Can you tell me where that came from? Like, was there a moment in your career? Like, how did you come to this leadership philosophy?
Yeah, so this moment's was really early in my professional career, and so I was at a job where I had like the standard performance review talking about goals, salary expectations, where I saw myself going. And my manager at the time, he was about 20 years older than I was, what people would call seasoned. And he kind of chuckled and said something like, "Those are great goals, but you have a lot more years of experience before you get there." And I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay. I remember walking out kind of frustrated in that moment. And so I was like, screw this. I'm going to the internet. I'm going to do some research. It just felt like, oh, you haven't earned the right for that. And despite the results, the producing effort. So I went down this rabbit hole and was like, why does the world, organizations, and people just overvalue tenure instead of results, adaptability, capability? And that's where I stumbled upon the quote by Alvin Toffler, and it stuck with me, ever since. "The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn." And that just hit me. And so from that point on, I stopped chasing permission for experience and started chasing progress through just being a hard worker, experimentation. And I found that the real edge in business and kind of where I'm at today isn't because I have 20 years of marketing experience. It's because I kind of like developed this ability to pivot and challenge the status quo, challenge assumptions, and just stay curious.
Yeah, I love that. And that's like the main skill that we need as marketers and as SEOs in the AIO era, the era of whatever you want to call it. Actually, at Ahrefs, one of the speakers said, "All right, let's settle this once and for all. Let's get a poll. Who just wants to keep it SEO?" And like almost the whole audience raised their hand. Like, it's just SEO. It's just adapting, right? So in terms of your leadership, right, in that Alvin Toffler quote, how do you balance consistency and delivering results with the creativity and the experimentation? Like, how do you create that sort of environment for your team to lean into?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like to approach my role in operations and in marketing like the sciences. The scientific method has this structure, and within that structure, you've got endless room for experimentation. You start with your hypothesis, you run controlled tests, and you observe the outcomes, and hopefully your hypothesis and your outcome match. And that's kind of exactly how I run my teams. We build operational frameworks in our lab environment, so to speak, and we define the start and the end of that process. What do we want this to look like? What does success look like? What does a failure look like? And what is like a happy medium of that? And so if someone has a new idea that could make the workflow faster, improve client outcomes, automate something, we do that. And we do it not just through theory, but by data, by walking through that scientific method. And so for me, operational excellence isn't just about like rigid control and detailed SOPs. It's about creating guide rails and a repeatable environment for discovery.
I love that. It almost sounds like, I can't remember where this came from, but it's called a pre-mortem. A post-mortem is like, what was the cause of death after death? A pre-mortem is like, if something were, if a person were to die, what would be the cause? And we can do that in marketing too. If this campaign were to fail, what would be the reasons why? And then reverse engineer it from there. I'm curious, when you have a hypothesis that is proven false, meaning we've learned something here, how do you report that somewhere, or do you because honestly that could be some great content. We thought this, we were disproven, here's what we learned. What do you do in those cases?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, we don't necessarily document it for the world.
Mhm.
Our team's pretty close knit. Like, I don't have an office. My door, I don't have a door. It's like I sit
Mm.
right in the belly of the beast. And so it's like when we identify something is not what we had thought, it's like somebody's coming over my desk and saying, "Hey, what we had thought, this is where it broke down." And then we just kind of step by step back through. We got this far. Okay, let's go back 3 steps. This is where it maybe failed. Let's shift something up here, and let's continue and give it another try.
And how do you report that to clients, or do you report it to clients? Is that something that they're interested in, or do you find they're only interested in the results that worked?
Yeah. So when it comes to like client facing things, I would say that like most everything that we do, if we're gonna like try something new on a client, we let them know, hey, we want to try something. This is beta.
Mhm.
This could go really great. This could go really poorly. Are you open to us trying this? We'll give them a little bit of the taste of transparency of like, this is what we're thinking can work.
Mhm.
If it doesn't work, of course, we're going to go back to the client. We're going to say, hey, we're off here. Typically, what we're trying, our clients that we even offer to be in a beta status, I mean, these are clients that we've had for 12, 15 years,
Mm.
and they've got some successes from these in the past, and they've got some
Nice.
failures. So they got some calluses, and they usually trust us in that.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. You have the trust already built, so they're like, yeah, it could be massive upside. I would imagine, you don't want to take huge risks with new clients. You're still trying to build that relationship and build that trust. So when you have, I would imagine you're a part of the hiring process, right? You have a team of 11 people, and as the company scales, you obviously need to bring more people on. What's something that you look for in new hires or maybe in younger marketers that really stands out and you're like, oh yeah, I love that. I'm going to bring them onto the team.
No opinions. I think it goes back to the learn, unlearn, relearn.
Mhm.
If somebody comes in and is really stuck in their ways, and just has these strong opinions, it becomes really difficult. The learning is easy. The relearning can sometimes be easy, but the unlearning is
Mm.
extremely difficult. And so, not even just young marketers, but any marketer that we may consider hiring, everybody has an opinion that's 20 years old and is on social media and just thought being a social media marketer would be great. And like, I watch so many TikToks. I know exactly
Yeah.
what what we need to do here. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Love your enthusiasm, and things like that. So it's hard to balance because you don't want to, stifle their creativeness or their eagerness to contribute,
Yeah.
but trying to get people out of their opinions, it can
Mhm.
be difficult. So I definitely want somebody that's coachable, and somebody that is definitely more open in their mind is open. I always
Mm.
think of this: is their cup already full, or is there some room for us to pour some more in?
I love that. I think the adage is hire for will, train for skill. And I think you're adding something in between there, which is hire for will, but you have to be willing to, before we can train them for the skill, we have to identify like what false beliefs they have,
Yeah.
and you can basically break those beliefs by having a strong hypothesis, a scientific method, and then proving it through data. There we go.
Yeah, everybody here is able to make their opinion and
Hmm.
has the empowerment and the space.
Hmm.
When the job's done, and if you get your job done in 3 hours and there's 6 hours left, like, I don't care what you do. Go let that big brain shine and
Yeah.
prove me wrong. And that's really rewarding, and it does happen more often than I like to admit. Right?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I hate to say we're outsourcing the creativity, but like, dude, you only have so much time in the day, only so much bandwidth. When it comes to taking like a vision or a strategy, what difficulties do you find in communicating that to the team? Are there any like miscommunications, and how do you overcome those?
Yeah, I think I like to run everything. So when we talk about like rolling out vision, so usually the team is bringing tweaks to existing processes, and my time is mostly spent with complete revamps of projects or
Hmm.
frameworks, operational frameworks. Now, when those things do happen, I roll out those frameworks. We're leading with vision, right? And most people would agree that kind of have that skill is getting the people to see the future with you. Like you're so far ahead, you're miles in your thinking. sat down on it for maybe months before you roll it out to the team. And if you can't get them to see it, you just sound crazy. And so, what I'm doing when we roll out these things is I'm just talking about it constantly, even in random everyday conversations. This 2 week period where if I roll out an idea or something like that, it's like if somebody brings up the weather, I'm finding a way to tie it back to
Yeah, yeah.
what we're trying to accomplish. Yeah, the weather's great. It's, the ACs are working overtime. Funny enough, this project that we're working on and this new concept, our clients are going to benefit. They're going to regulate their energy. They're going to be cooler. Their mood's going to be improved. All of those
Uh-huh.
things, kind of forcing conversations around the office. When you want to talk to me and there is one of these big uplifts and these operational things going on, it's the only thing I want to talk about. And
Mm.
that's the only thing I want my team to talk about, kind of indoctrination by just repetitive hearing the motion. And then at the end of the day, we get in a meeting. We're like, hey, who's ready to start on this idea? Hands go up. They're like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember who said it, but they were like, "You're not talking about your vision enough until your employees start to roll their eyes when you bring it up." Like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
yeah,
Speaking of this hot weather, man, this new strategy is fire, dog. Let's go.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's starting to get traction when people stop coming to talk to me about things. I'm like, okay, I think they've got the message.
Yeah, nice. You're like, "Oh, finally, finally." Yeah, speaking of the AC working overtime, they've been working overtime and now we can move forward. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff that's changing, going back to AI and how that's affecting SEO. Like, what do you think is true? Like, what is the data showing? Like, what tests have you been running that shows something that obviously you can't say with 100% certainty, but that AI works this way and this is what we're doing on the SEO side to play the AI game. Like, is there anything that you're seeing in the data or testing?
Like our approach to AI has been fast with a calculated pullback a little bit. And
Mm,
so when it first landed, we were like, oh, we got to do this. It's going to change the game. It's going to change everything. But when I think about AI and specifically to websites and SEO and getting people to show up in AI, so I'm looking at a lot of the same things that we look at in traditional SEO, with the exception of backlinks, with the exception of keywords. But we're still looking for big websites. We're still looking for clear content on sites. We're trying to solve questions. And if we can solve that question in 250 words, that page is a 250 word page.
really?
That's it. Right. And so we've seen some really good success on our AI citations, our mentions, not
Okay.
only in the chat models, ChatGPT, Claude, things along those lines, but also within Google Gemini and AI search overviews as
Hmm.
well. So
Okay.
just solving client questions one page at a time, making pages very lean. We don't want necessarily think we haven't seen having a lean website. You can't have a lean website, 1 page, 2 page, five
Mm.
pages, and expect it to show up. But we can have lean pages that solve a very specific problem.
And by lean pages, you mean like the content on the page is very dense in nature. Like it's not, as AI like to say, no fluff.
Yeah.
There's not.
So we would say like the day of like the ultimate guide to roofing is over. Where you land on a page, you're going to be pages after pages, 3,000, 4,000 words of content on those pages.
Hmm.
We believe that day's over.
Mm.
We
Hmm.
believe that each section that you would have on a page like that deserves to have its own page that's really in depth on that level of content.
And that gives you a lot more opportunity for internal linking. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And then internal linking strategy, obviously, to show the LLMs and SERPs like which page you want to rank for, which is the most important. Maybe it's a product page, maybe it's a services page. But what about external link building? Like, how are you guys earning links now? Like, what's your approach? Has it changed with I guess, in the picture now?
Yeah, no, it really hasn't changed. I mean, AI, we know that AI doesn't care about links the way that SEO, traditional SEO does. And so
Hmm.
when we're having conversations with our clients about AI, we're not talking about SEO and AI together. We're talking about them as completely separate channels. And so what we're talking with our clients about in SEO is like, hey, this 10 blue links. You want to be the 1, 2, or 3 blue link. And
Hmm.
we've had this talk track for a long time. When we're talking about AI, it's way more nuanced. Um, you know, locally owned, female owned, black owned, LGBTQ friendly. Some of these things that people have trained with their own AI that they value as their individuals. You
Hmm.
value a locally owned company, and you've done enough searches, and you are using AI to search for businesses, which is like 2%. Isn't really crying too much about the AI search stuff right now with
Hmm.
ChatGPT, but AI knows you. If I typed
Hmm.
one search, and was like, hey, I value local businesses, and I then look for a plumber, you better hope that if you're local and you're a plumber, you better say something about you being local, or you won't show up
Yeah.
in AI, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So our link building strategy really hasn't changed.
Hmm.
But when it comes to when we're focusing on AI as a channel, we don't even talk about this. Talk about website, talk about solving people's queries, solving problems in as few as words as possible, and we don't talk about branding. I mean, we want to be very clear on these pages.
Yeah. You said you don't talk about branding.
Not in the AI sense, right?
Mm.
So we've done some tests on this where we had a food company, a restaurant. I don't know why I called it a food company. A
I mean, that's
restaurant.
what it
Yeah.
is, kind of.
So we had a restaurant, and like right on their homepage, they had "Nourish Your Soul." Okay, as soon as we changed that language to like
Hmm.
"Best Barbecue Kansas City,"
Yeah.
we started to see that our AI impressions, and we saw that in the SEO world, and we saw that even more so in our mentions and
Hmm.
AI overviews
Yeah.
within search.
Yeah. So something that's very clear, direct, right? AI is lazy. LLMs are lazy. They want the answer. I've talked to people, other agencies that are saying, yes, we can have lean pages, but they're also finding success in like a table of contents. Very basically each header or each section is here's the question and then the answer right under it. Those articles, those blogs can be much longer, I suppose. But like you're saying, like branding and actually brand mentions, AI is not caring so much about the links, but what is the anchor text? What is are you being mentioned as an entity? It's starting to pick that up. With the whole talk about like entity and brand recognition, like how involved are you on the client side with, helping them with their brand strategy?
Not as much as we would like to. I think that
Hmm.
our company is very capable of helping a company with brand discovery and different things. We've went through it. For our own agency, we've been an agency for 24 years. There's been a natural evolution where we've had to revisit our brand identity.
Hmm.
Not as much as we would like to.
Hmm.
And what we do is on a much smaller scale for the just starting business.
Hmm.
We would do a lot of work with in-home services. And so, it's a plumber coming to us, and they're a plumber. And they're like, James Plumbing sounds like a really good name. And it's like, oh, James, that is a good name, but what's your ethos of your company? Why'd you do it? I went to trade school, and it's like, I'm gonna start my own plumbing company. Okay, do you have any values? Hard work and making money. It's like,
Yeah.
so you've got to just kind of like coax things out of like our client base.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, yeah, that sounds great. Sometimes they don't see it. And so we really just focus on, hey, let's just get this guy some leads.
Yeah.
And if we can do that without the branding, obviously we want to make websites look nice, and we want to make sure that
Hmm.
we clarify messaging, but our client base really doesn't care a whole lot about branding.
Yeah. I mean, when you're, be like, you guys got to stop calling yourself a food company. Like, just, it's a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So going back to the websites, with more limited crawling from Google and eliminating the 100 pages, now we're down to 10. What do you think is going to be the most important thing about the website structure? Aside from, well, yeah, I guess I'll just keep that open ended. Like, are you seeing anything about the website, either on page or technical or off page, with the schema, that's going to be the most important, both for, top 10 on SERP and LLM visibility?
I mean, I think hierarchy is more important than ever.
Mm.
And so putting your most important information at the top, when you were kind of like talking about strategies that you've seen, longer form content, it's like
Hmm.
we still write long form content, but what we have started to do is put like TLDRs at the top, right?
Nice.
Synopsises.
Yeah.
So that way AI or search can grab those really succinct synopsises, and then consumers, if they're really in that research mode or want to go deeper, or Google wants to go deeper, or AI wants to go deeper, there's that additional content to support it. But AI is expensive.
Yeah.
It's not looking at websites the same way that Google has looked at websites for years. It's not indexing them the same way. And so when you ask AI to go to a website, it might only look at the homepage. If you're like plugging
Mhm.
in that URL, you really have to tell it, go a little bit deeper, look at this page, look at this page. Because it's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. True that. Well, as we wrap up our conversation here, Zach, if you had to bet on like one emerging trend that will I don't know, maybe completely redefine marketing operations in the next 12 months, what do you think that trend is going to be?
I think the writing's on the wall. It's autonomous marketing systems.
Mhm.
It's like everything that we've been doing for the last 3 years since AI came on the scene for us is an AI that doesn't just assist, but is operating. And automations have been around for a long time. And I think that we're in this phase where it's AI and then we have automations. They're going to kind of like be married together at some point. And so we're in this awkward middle phase where humans are still running the play that AI is like giving to us.
Mhm.
Next 18 to 24 months, I think we'll see AI systems capable of building, launching, optimizing campaigns end to end based on like true real time data, like what people are clicking, what people aren't clicking. And then we have some of that in like PPC where the bid strategy may change a little bit, but I'm thinking like market conditions, news, behavior signals, a lot more advanced than what we're used to in meta and uh, PPC lanes. And
Mhm.
so I don't think there's a world where humans disappear. It just means our role changes. So instead of like us pressing the buttons, we're just architecting the automation, having that expected outcome, understanding what we want to happen, and then we'll design those frameworks, define the objectives, and let these systems execute. The twist here is there's not enough trust right now in AI. And so the businesses that we're going to win are those who build out an operational framework that gets them to the point where they trust their AI and whatever autonomous system that they've deployed, that they
Mm.
have 100% trust that it's going to function. Right now, I feel like we're still in this period where we're babysitting AI.
Yeah.
We're not ready to really let go of the reins a little bit.
Yeah.
But the company who does let go of the reins and has achieved that like 99.9% accuracy, the fastest is going to be the one that wins.
Yeah.
That'd be my
Yeah.
prediction.
I love it, man. I love it. Zach, where can we find more about you or more about Summit Media Solutions?
Yeah, you can visit our website, www.summitmediasolutions.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Zachary Huffman. That's pretty much it. Those are the two places. Find us on all the socials. Find me on all the socials. Same name.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time today and giving us some insight in, how you guys are approaching it and what it's like, being a head of marketing operations in at the end of 2025. I'm sure if we have a conversation in a year from now, it's going to be completely different. So maybe we'll look forward to that.
Yeah, would love to. Appreciate the time.
You
Have a
got
great
it.
day.